everything about cologne and perfume live. Now, if you'd ask me, I probably wouldn't have the answers to half of your questions. However, that's why I brought in Herbert Stricker from Germany, the founder of Classic Parfums and of The Nose Behind. He knows more about cologne than anyone I know. So welcome, Herbert.
Yeah, hi. Welcome,
Hi there.
Rafa. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, Herbert asked me, oh, is anyone going to be here at that point in time? I was like, it's
Yeah,
our best time usually when people show up. And the US is a big country. Some people are in Europe, some people are in the US. You never hit the perfect time like you could in Germany. Herbert is in Frankfurt, Germany right now, which is where they're headquartered. And the first question is, Herbert, what is the process for designing a fragrance?
yeah. Normally, You can start off starting with the bottle and the box and everything. So the packaging design, or you start with the fragrance DNA. And I always start with the fragrance DNA. So I create a fragrance. With my idea of a fragrance, with my DNA, with
Yes. So it's like a vision. You start, okay. Okay. Now, I also know that you get inspiration from things like, your travels. So you go to Miami South Beach or you go, wherever, and then you have an inspiration. So how do you design a fragrance then if your vision is to, say, hey, I want people to feel like they're sitting at that beach?
that is very difficult. You can't design a fragrance for the expectation of the people, because anyone has a different expectation. No? Someone is in so they call me always how to design a fragrance, what it means, the beach in Miami. So, and I say, oh, I have to create a weed fragrance because they are smoking over there. So that's what maybe the people wants. So when I choose an idea for my travels, it's my personal idea. So it's not what I mean to, what remembers me to the place and something else. And maybe it fits with the customer or the consumer, maybe not. So that's, but at the end,
Yeah, yeah.
there's a
But
fragrance. You have to elevate the fragrance. You say, okay, the fragrance, I like the fragrance, and the story is nice. But if if the fragrance doesn't catch you, the story is makes no sense. No one
yeah,
buys and
yeah,
uses a fragrance only because of the story.
yeah. And it has to work, right? And maybe, you're associating this wonderful beach vacation with a scent. And for me, that exact same scent reminds me of, other kids bullying me because it smelled like that when I was there, and it's a really negative connotation. So that's just something to work with. And that's why I think it's important to, really smell things for yourself and not just go with like, ooh, Creed Aventus is popular, that's gonna work for me. And so today we're launching the Patina fragrance from Roberto Ugolini in the US here. It's a new fragrance. It was designed by Herbert Stricker. And because of that element of, it's different for each person, we said we're not going to just launch a deal for this product, but instead we said, hey, we'll send you a sample of all the Roberto Ugolini products. You can smell all of them. And then when you decide which one you want, you decide which bottle you want. And then on top of that, we'll give you a free linen pocket square of any value because, it's spring is coming up. So it's a good time to have a nice pop in your pocket. Here you can see I'm just wearing like a plain white one, but we have many others. And it's just a very nice, crisp look that you can upgrade your jacket with. So the price is $350. You get all the samples sent to you. Then you get the bottle of your choice, and you can get a free linen pocket squares. I think the most expensive one is probably $100. So you're getting a really, really good deal. That being said, Herbert, how do you figure out to mix all those smells to get what you want?
Yeah, it's very difficult because you have an idea, and so the idea is maybe not completely 100% manageable. So you put some ingredients, you put some stuff, and maybe you reach 80%, 90% of fulfillment of your ideas. So you never reach 100%. And that's why at a certain point you have to say, okay, stop. Now for me, the fragrance is ready to go. Or you say, okay, I stop and I cancel the whole project.
Okay.
That's why you never get the final experience to say, okay, I'm really happy. But this is always in art. And I consider perfumery as an art. If you write a
Like
book,
a salad.
if you create a song, if you make a film, if you make a object or something else, there's always something to improve or to manage or so, but you never finish at the end. So you have to say, okay, that's it. And that's,
Okay.
you have a certain base, you have a certain base idea, and you put something. Sometimes it's more easy, sometimes it's more complicated. But at the end, you will find a product. And you, as a creator, you have to like it. If the people outside like it, it's another question. You can ask people what you think about this fragrance. If you ask 10 people, maybe you get 5 different opinions. Maybe you get 10 different opinions. So it is difficult. You have to do, okay, for me, it's okay, the fragrance, and I go out. And the rest is what we see. Some fragrances are very appreciated by the public, and some ones less. So that's always.
Yeah. No, but it's interesting to hear it. It's a very similar creative process, right? Like we made these cufflinks, for example, right? This is like a lion cufflink, and in the back it has like a gazelle. And initially, the gazelle was slightly too big and slightly too pointy, so we changed that. But I was like, now I'm happy. Now we're going to launch that, right? And then some people say, like, why would you ever want to wear this, right? But I'm like, I'm pleased with the outcome of these cufflinks, and I hope that someone else will too. The people who bought them are. But, it's ultimately in the eye of the beholder. Now, some people may think, Herbert sits there at home, by the fireplace, and now he has 100 bottles of oil, and he sits there and mixes things together and smells them. Is that how you operate, or walk us through how it actually happens?
Yeah. So I'm not a real perfumer. So I'm not the guy in the laboratory to mix the oils. I consider me a little bit like an art director. So I arrange this one. When I create a new fragrance, I always go in the lab. For me, it's important to go in the lab. What I do in the lab? First of all, I choose the raw materials. So I say, okay, I want to have a patchouli oil inside. But they are...
Because you know what patchouli smells like.
Patchouli oils.
You have an idea. Okay.
Yeah. There are hundreds of patchouli oils, different regions, different extractions or so. And I say, okay, I want to work with this patchouli oil. I want to work with this iris. I want to work with this fruity note, and so on. And then I speak with the perfumer, or sometimes it's also a lady doing this, and they know me, so the conversation is more easy now because they know me, and they say, okay, I want to have a little bit this direction. I explain the fragrance, they mix it, and they give you to smell, and I say, okay, I want to shift more in this direction, I want to shift more in that direction. And sometimes I say, maybe you put 5% more of this patchouli oil. And they say, no, 5% doesn't change nothing. You have to put 10% or something. That's their job. Their job is to say, okay, how much I have to do. When I do too much, what is the next step or something else? And so we go on and we try. And at a certain point, I say, okay, now the fragrance is good, but you have to consider working in the laboratory, you are in a smelling environment. So the whole air is full of aromas. You can smell the fragrance really. So you have to take it out, you have to bring it at home, and after 2 days, in calm, you re-smell it, and you say, okay, it's not okay, and you go back, and so on. So that's the process.
So, but typically the time frame is do you go to a laboratory in one day and then you walk away with the final product at the end? Or like how long does it typically take you?
Depends on the fragrance, and also on a question how complicated is to create this what you want. Sometimes you need maybe 1 week or something else. Sometimes you need years. I have in mind a certain pineapple fragrance, a certain style of pineapple fragrance. I never get the result. So I tried many different approaches, but there is not that what they want. So the project is there. Maybe they never come out, but for years we are working on this idea. No? Yeah. Of course, we are not working every day on this idea, but we are always returning to try to do something. Yeah. And some fragrance, they go out easy. So some fragrance, you go there, they mix 4 or 5 oils, and they say, okay, we are nearly perfect, so let's go.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that because it sounds to me like, and you're a great connoisseur of like bespoke clothing and craftsman, right? When you go as a customer, you have a vision of what you want and the ideas and all that stuff, but you still need someone to make it for you, right? Because you yourself wouldn't be good at making that suit. And I had a similar experience once, like when we designed our logos for Belvedere. I worked with this designer and I told him what I wanted, and everything. He used parts of the Fort Belvedere castle in the crest, and I was like, this is great. And then I tried to work with him on the Gentleman's Gazette logo, and it was a big failure, right? So sometimes one person can be really great for one thing, and then it can be terrible for another. And so you have to find that right person to kind of jive with you. Cool. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, the idea to create a suit with the tailor is nearly the same. And also in the tailor question, if you go to a tailor, you explain them how you like to have the pockets and the lapels and everything. No?
Yeah.
And he starts to design the jacket. And you go to the fitting, and at a certain point you realize, no, it's not what I want. It's very difficult to get a result for you. Sometimes it will be better to skip the whole process and start again, but never want to do this. So you arrange in a certain way and say, okay, maybe next suit will be better. No? So, and the same story is in the perfume. So, at a certain point, you have to say, okay, I skip and I start from the scratch.
Okay. So, in the fragrance world, right? I mean, we all know fragrances because pretty much any big name has a fragrance, right? You can go to stores here. You can go to, whether it's Ulta or Sephora or Nordstrom, and you buy a fragrance. Now, there's this whole area of niche fragrances. Could you kind of explain to us the difference between, a regular fragrance, a niche fragrance, and whatever other types of fragrances there are?
The difference between a niche fragrance or a mass market fragrance or a luxury fragrance or is not the smell by itself. You will find a very mass market fragrance what has a maybe pleasant smell for you. That's the smell is not the question. The question is the raw materials. You can use better or less better raw materials. Like in the clothing, you can use a very cheap fabric. You make a cheap suit in some fabric, but maybe it looks good on you. That's not, but it's not a good product because the quality of the product is not good. So that is one of the difference. The second one is, of course, the brand and the name and the trademark or something else. If you go for Louis Vuitton or Hermes or something else, of course you buy also the heritage of the brand and you don't buy the perfume. You buy a certain brand. If this brand is being positioning in a certain tag, it will be there. For me, it's always very funny to make this reflection when you go to make maintenance on your wristwatch, in a watch. Yeah. So you go to the dealer and say, okay, the watch is not working anymore. You have to do cleaning and everything. So they asked in Germany, they asked from 300 euro to 5,000 euro. But why someone asked 300 or 5,000? If you ask them, they say, okay, more expensive the watch is when you buy it, more expensive also the maintenance. But it's not because it's working, because they decide for this watch to have to pay more because it's an image or something else. Same thing with, you will find handbags, maybe very good made of a custom made leather factory, but they can't ask for prices like a mess. No, because they don't have the heritage of a mess. The bag is beautiful and the leather is beautiful. Everything is really good made, but they don't. So the same story in the perfume. You have this difference of the brand of the something else. The niche is more, the niche is more experimental. So they try to do more crazy things, what the big brands doesn't like. The big brands, they are more marketing driven. So the marketing says, we want to focus on this channel, on this market, on this customers.
Age group. Exactly. And the bottle, what's in the bottle can only cost $2, right? And we'll maybe spend
exactly
$10 on the bottle because the bottle has to look really, really good and the packaging has to feel very luxurious. But what's in the bottle doesn't matter so much. What about stabilizers? I think, many people aren't aware of stabilizers and colognes and how they work and how they smell. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, they are different things. One of them is the mainstream, the mass market products, they use stabilizer to fix the fragrance. So they are called fixateur. So it's a French expression, but it's common in the perfume world. Mm-hmm. There are some molecules, they are used to keep the oil of the fragrance on the skin. So with less oil concentration and with less oil, you can create a longer lasting effect with this fixateur.
Got it. Because usually the more oil you have in a fragrance, the longer it lasts, correct? Because what you smell is the oil, the rest is just the alcohol. So if you use a stabilizer instead of the oil, the stabilizer is a lot less expensive. And so you can get kind of the effect of it. Okay, understood. Understood it. It's like you if you have tires and you try to add more tread again without getting a new tire. Okay, it's kind of a quality thing. Okay. So with Roberto Ugolini fragrances, oil concentrations all range from like 20, 25, 30%, right? So how much is a mass market cologne? How much oil concentration is in there?
Normally they used between 7 and at least 10, maybe 10, but not more than 10. They have some product, they call it parfum extrait absolu or something else. So in there they use maybe 15 or 18%, but normally they didn't use more than 10%, because on the end you have the cost of the fragrance is, of course, the packaging costs. More expensive the packaging is, more its costs. But also the fragrance has his cost. The alcohol has no cost. Yes, of course, a little bit of cost is also the alcohol, but it's not a question.
Insignificant
you have a bottle
compared
of 100
to the oils.
ml, and you have 30% of oil, which is expensive, and 70% of alcohol, what is not expensive, is a different one. If you have 90% of alcohol, what is not expensive, and 10%. So, of course, the more oil is more expensive the product is.
And, is there also like our niche fragrances typically, they have more natural oils versus synthetic oils, or is that not?
Yeah, you will find in every aroma different price levels. So some molecules, synthetic molecules, are very expensive. Some natural ingredients like orange oil is very cheap. So you get orange oil very easy, natural orange oil. So the next one is the quality of the raw material, and the quality of the raw material, it means in the perfumery always how less they are alternated, or they have some allergenic components or something else inside. So it's a little bit, like if you compare it with the food, it's farm grown, not treated, and something else. So more you have a natural, less critical product, more you have to pay for this one. And this is also in the synthetic one. The synthetic one, they have also some scale of products. You can get the same product on a different price level. So you can buy a synthetic iris for 10, for 20, or for 30. And also in the natural, you have different price levels of the quality of where it comes of it. So it's always a mix between natural and synthetic. And the big brands, they have a huge amount of bottles they produce every day and every year. So they are not able to use natural ingredients in a certain way because they don't get the quantity what they want. There's
also a consistency, right, with natural oils. Maybe 1 year it rains a lot.
Yeah. So I give an example in the clothing. If Zara or something else, or some cheap brand, I don't know, in the United States, tell me some very less expensive clothes maker. There's one. How?
Well, I mean, there's lots of different ones, but to me, I'm always looking at it's like you can eat beef, right? You can eat a hamburger at McDonald's, or Wendy's, and then you can kind of eat a steak. You can have grass fat, you can have grain fed, you can go to a steakhouse, you can go to the supermarket, or you can go to Salt Bay, where gold is coated on your steak, and then you pay a lot more, right?
But we take the beef and the steak. If McDonald's says, okay, we want to bring out a burger with real Kobe beef from Japan. They're not able to do it because there are not so much cows in Japan, in Kobe, to fulfill all the burgers what McDonald's is burning. So that's the why. So a big brand like Hugo Boss or something else, or Dior, or so, they can't use raw materials like Taif rose or Bulgarian rose, because they don't get the quantity what they want. They need tons of them, and they are not tons of them. They are only maybe 500 kilos. So that's the reason they say, for them, it's important to have a realistic source. And the realistic source for them is always synthetic, because they don't want to deal with this question, get I or maybe not, this year not, because the harvest is not like the other years, and something else.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. And like that's, I think, the special thing about the Roberto Ugolini, right? Where this is high quality. So if you enjoy high quality things, then I suggest you give it a try. You can just buy a sample kit, or you buy a sample kit and you choose the bottle of your choice, and you get a free pocket squares for $350. Special deal. You don't need a code. You just go to our shop. And this deal is available until end of day Sunday in Central Standard Time. I always say, we have the best deals when a product launches, so don't think about it twice. This is the best deal it'll ever be. Now, someone asked, Herbert, is it really bad if I store my colognes in the bathroom, or is it just a myth?
Depends of the bedroom. If the bedroom is very warm and very exposed to sun or to light, it's better to don't do it. So if you put it in your bedroom, in the closet, outside. So the worst is the light, sun or something else. The second one is the temperature, and the third one is the humidity. Okay. So in the bathroom, you can find everything. You can find a lot of light, because you have a big window where the sun comes in, and you have also maybe a high temperature, because you want to feel better. You are naked in the bathroom, and you want to have a higher temperature, and you have this humidity of the water, of the shower, or something else. So it's not the best way. I suggest to store the colognes in the wardrobe, in the bedroom, or in the dressing room, or in the whatever, where you store your clothes. No?
Ideally dark.
Way,
you want dark, low humidity, and probably also not many temperature changes, and a lower temperature better than a higher. Okay, that's good. Okay. How do I make sure I'm applying the right amount of fragrance?
That's a very, very strong question. So nowadays, people try to overspray. Yeah. And for me,
I remember Jeremy Fragrance, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's like, whoa.
For me, I'm an old guy, so I prefer the classical way. You have to spray as much as the silage or the hour of the perfume is not going over 4-5 feet. So that's just a little bit the distance.
So people shouldn't be able to smell you from more than 5 feet.
Yeah, if someone smells you when you enter the room, maybe it's too much. But it's a question of taste. If you want to do it, do it. There's also a cultural relationship. The Middle East people, they spray a lot. They spray because they want to have this big aura. Some ones, it's a little bit. I suggest to make not more than 3 or 4 sprayers. And but if you like, you can spray more. But at the end is you communicate with the fragrance, and when you enter the business, or also in a relationship, or you go on a date or something else, if you are a guy overspraying, maybe you get some benefits. But for me, 90% of the cases, you don't get the benefit, because the other one says, okay, what kind of blowing aroma is coming? You want to increase your personality. Do you want to overwhelm your personality with the perfume?
Yeah. And it also depends a bit. I have a Mont Blanc where I usually take 2 sprays. With the Roberto Ugolini, I just do 1 spray. I find that's enough for my taste and what I like. And you can just tell, even when I let's say I spray it on, and then I wear it throughout the day. If I don't take a shower the next day, my wife can still smell it. So that's great, right? Others, like, you can spray like 5 times and it's gone, right? So it all depends on, again, the quality, right? And it doesn't smell the same at the end of the day, right? It also changes. Yeah. Someone asks, what about keeping cologne in my car? So, I mean, honestly, based on what you said, I would say, in the car, it can get really hot, so that's not good. It can also get humid, which is not good. If you keep it in your glove box, it's at least dark, so that's helpful. But would you say, like, storing it in the car is a
I
good?
don't I don't know why you want to take it in the car. Also, you can take it if you travel and you want to have something with you. So, but maybe you put it in a box or something else, or in a pocket, or in a travel case or something else. It's okay. But normally, it's not a way to store a fragrance in the car, because, of course, it can be hot, and yeah. The best way is also to let the fragrance in the box where are provided, so they don't take it out of the box.
You mean
That's also
the
a way.
box or the bottle?
No, the box, the box.
Okay.
If you store the fragrance, I know that it's a little bit consuming space now.
Yeah.
If the
Yeah, of
box is
course. Like,
bigger, yeah, of course. But at the end, is the best way to store it in the box. When
okay.
you use it on a daily basis, when it's your fragrance that you use every day, okay, that makes no sense to take it in the box, because every day you have to put it out of the box. But if you have a collection of fragrances and maybe you don't use every fragrance every day, so take them in the box.
Okay. So, like, sometimes when you're also a big wine connoisseur, right? When you drink wine, people, start taking notes. And it's like, ooh, I taste cherry, I taste strawberry. And I once met a guy, and he like, he was a novice, and he was like, well, how do the strawberries get into the wine, right? Like, and he seriously asked that. So sometimes it can feel intimidating, and it holds space, and people feel like they don't smell it. It's kind of hard for them to grasp. And I think it can be similar with
Yeah.
colognes, right? When people are like, ooh, I smell powder, or you mentioned patchouli or iris, right? Maybe you don't have any idea of what that smells like. If you're like, I'm interested in this, I want to learn more about it, how would you go about that?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, anyone has a different fragrance, let me say, fragrance diary or fragrance memory. So, and some people, they say, okay, this one remembers me orange blossom, or remembers me a certain flower or certain wood or something else. The other ones say, oh, I don't know, I never know how it smells, this flower or something else. So I always give the advice to say, okay, smell the fragrance and check if the fragrance is your taste, if you like the fragrance. It's also with the wine. If you like the wine, it's the wine. If the other one
Yeah.
says, but you smell the strawberry or the raspberry or the woody notes or the tobacco or something else, yeah, but if you don't like the wine, it makes no sense to say, okay, I smell. And same in the cologne. You have to choose the fragrance or the taste or the smell, what you like and what you prefer. And
So it's
then
like an
maybe you
emotional
can
connection.
try to analyze or something, or you with a certain experience you get more used to say, okay, I smell this one or I smell this one. But don't make the things complicated, because
Okay.
it makes it easy. At the end, the fragrances there do improve your overall outfit, your overall appearance. That's the reason why you wear a fragrance. The second reason is to feel good. A fragrance also gives you some feelings, and sometimes maybe you are in a bad mood, and a certain fragrance will give you a good mood. So it gives a feeling and overall, and that's the question. But not if there is you smell the iris or you smell the mango or you smell this one.
Yeah. Next question is it better to have one signature scent or wear a lot of different scents? And I think it's a bit like, I remember reading about Obama. He was like, I don't want to think about my outfit. I wear these things, I wear these 3 things like a uniform every day. To me, that's like the signature scent, right? I don't want to think about it. I just wear this versus there's multiple different options. What's your take on that?
Yeah, for me, it's difficult to have a signature scent working in the business. But yeah, if you feel good with a signature scent, you can go with a signature scent.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, for
more.
me,
It's
that's just
more.
not, it's
Nah,
like
it's more.
uninspiring. It's like,
Yeah,
I mean, it's like, when I go to the gym, I wear different clothes than if I go to a black tie event,
yeah,
Say,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
there's this obsession with like minimalism, right? It's like this, I just bring one pair of pants and one pair of shoes and one, thing, and then I go to travel the world for like 865 days. Well, guess what? It's just not how it works.
Yeah, yeah. In the old times, the men, they used only one fragrance, a signature fragrance, but not because they say that is the fragrance what I like and I want only this one. It was also a certain way of commodity of don't think about to do something. So now everyone has different things.
Yeah.
Different clothes, different ties, maybe different pants. So the people wants to have different things for different situations, and also the fragrance. You don't need 100 different fragrances, but you need at least one for the evening, at least one for the day, one for the sport, one for maybe special remembering or something else. So 4, 5, 6 is a normal quantity what you need, and you choose, and you skip from one of the other. It's also good for your smell, because if you use a fragrance every day, you don't smell it after a while, because the nose says, okay, I know this aroma, I don't smell it. And the people don't smell the fragrance, and they overspray because they say, oh, I don't smell, I have to spray more. And the other ones say, oh God, oh my God, he's coming, and he has overspray. So that's
That's a
and you
risk
do
of a
not
signature
smell the
scent.
fragrance. Maybe the other ones they smell.
Is you overspray because you don't even smell it anymore, and other people try to stay away from you because it's overpowering. Okay. What are some fragrance brands, other than Roberto Ugolini, that you generally like?
Oh, there are a lot. We have
Just
we
throw out
have
a
in
few.
our portfolio more than 25 brands. So that's, of course,
Okay,
all of them I like.
yeah, but let's say outside of your portfolio.
Outside of my portfolio, I have a certain approach to a vintage fragrance type, but there are always some vintage products. Guerlain for me is a big brand, but still has his quality. Hermes also, speaking about the boutique version, a brand what I like is expensive, but they do a good job.
So is there
Also,
a difference between Hermes that you buy at an Hermes boutique and Hermes that I buy at duty free at the
yeah,
airport?
they have a special collection, boutique only collection, and they are different than the normal collection. Yeah.
Okay. So when you buy Hermes at the airport, it's not the same as if you go to the store.
Yeah. If you buy at the Hermes store on the airport, you will find this boutique edition. No? But if you go in a normal perfumery store, they carry Hermes, but they carry this standard stuff. No? And
So can you just walk in and buy it?
Please?
Can you just walk into the Hermes store and buy it, or do you have to go on a list first, or
No,
like
you can buy it.
buy a Birkin bag first and then you can buy it?
They are very funny, because if you buy on one of these Hermes signature fragrances, only boutique only fragrances, they say, okay, it's maybe $300 or $400. I don't know how it's more or less in this range, and they give you the bottle. And you say, but there's no packaging. Yes, you have the packaging. The leather case for $2,000 for the fragrance. So they sell you, of course, also the leather box.
The leather packaging. Okay. which costs more than
Or
the
if you
scent.
don't like it, you get only the bottle in paper and nothing else. So,
Okay, I'll have
but
to
the
try it.
philosophy of Hermes is you buy the fragrance and you buy also the leather box to
The
carry it.
box too. That's nice. I'll have to check that out. I didn't know that they were different at the airport. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other brands that you're like
Yeah,
you
there
like
are
recommend?
Parfum de Marly are good brands. Inizio, there are a lot. They have in the niche. There are a lot. If someone asks for a good commercial brand with good fragrances and a low cost, I always suggest Versace. Versace is maybe the best choice if you want to have a good product for a good price and also good smell. They have different fragrances. Any of these brands has some interesting products, but Versace has a little bit more than the other ones. So
Okay.
if someone don't want to spend so much money on fragrances, I suggest give a look on Versace, and I think you will find a good fragrance for a realistic good price.
Nice. That's a great tip. Next one is Tom Ford. Yes or no?
The private collection, yes. The normal, also yes. But Tom Ford a little bit has changed. The problem is when these big brands like Tom Ford, nowadays it's not anymore Tom Ford doing the directions, but the new owner. And the previous Tom Ford private collection products they were very, very, very good. They are crazy products like Woodwood and all this thing, Tuscan leather and something else. They are really amazing fragrances. But nowadays they tell. I'm not a normal user of Tom Ford fragrance, but I heard in different of that the quality is not anymore like it was before. So they are not lasting anymore that time that they want. So they are expensive and I have noticed quality visually of this otherwise. But the fragrance part itself is correct. Tom Ford is maybe the best commercial brand in sense of quality and smell. Maybe not anymore because the quality is a little bit going down, but the smell is still there. So the products are very good.
Okay. Have you tried 8 and Bob?
Yeah. I don't know.
What's your opinion?
The fragrance is a classical cologne and the fresh style. So the original 8 and the Bob. I'm not sure if the story is true or not, because often the stories are not completely true. So maybe it's really that Kennedy has used this fragrance or not, but we don't know. We can't ask him. The fragrance is good. It's a good cologne. It's a basic one. I like also the packaging with the book and the bottle inside, and so it's a good choice. They have done different other ones in the line. They are not, for me, not. The original one is a good choice, yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts on men wearing women's fragrances and vice versa?
Yeah, that's always a question. The people, when you give them a fragrance and you tell them it's a female fragrance, they say, oh, no. And vice versa. But if you give them a fragrance and tell them this is the best male fragrance, they say, "Oh wow!" No? So it's a little bit
like
a psychological thing. So
absolutely,
the people
this one here, for
they
example,
don't have, yeah.
you called this one high heel white, right? So
Yeah.
when people hear high heel white, the first thing they associate is like women's, right? Because most men don't wear high heels.
Yeah.
But if you take a step away and let's say you do a blind smell test, like I think this is a fantastic fragrance. Like it's unusual. and it's a very kind of elegant. I feel like this is great for like black tie, right? So I'm like, I wear
Yeah,
this for evenings. I think it's fantastic, but it's hard to sell it that way, right? Or like there's the kitten heel is your restaurant, right? That smells. I mean, it's a little sweeter maybe, right? And but for example, Jack on our team, he's like, I love it, you know, and he wears it. And we did a whole series on like, you know, maybe using a women's scarf or something like that. So what's your take on that whole thing for in the fragrance world? You're like it's all psychological and they're all unisex, or there are
yeah.
distinctions?
At the end, they are all unisex. Maybe they, for me, I take my learnings of this. I never called a fragrance like the white one, High Wheel White. So if you see the new fragrances coming out from Roberto Ugolini, they are all unisex, but also unisex in the name and in the
Yeah,
wording and in the story.
you
Because
learned.
that's a problem. That's a problem. I have taken some mistakes when I can return back and bring out this white fragrance. Maybe I call it only white or something else. No?
Yeah, yeah,
Because of course, it is. It is that the people says, okay, whoa, it's high heel. No, it's not for me. Thank you. No?
yeah, yeah.
Also, if they
White
smell
tie.
and they say, I like the smell, after you tell them the name, they say, oh, no, I don't want it. No? So that's a
Yeah, yeah.
psychological thing. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. Yeah, it would be funny to see, you know, if this was called Wimbledon, you know, or white tie, or like, and then how people would like it. It's sometimes it's good to kind of, you know, take your first
Yeah.
initial impressions or even the subconsciousness out of it and do a real test. So that's
Yeah,
why I
yeah.
recommend if you're interested, you know, like grab a set of samples. And we have a special deal going today. You get all the set of samples. We send them to you. You smell everything, and then we'll send you the bottle, the full bottle. And today, special, we also throw in a free pocket square of your choice, so you can add it with the initial order. And it's $350, which is a great savings. I think the pocket squares are up to $100, so you're getting it for free when you buy this set. The next question is, are you familiar with Aaron Terrence Hughes?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
I don't know what the question is. Okay, so you know him. Good. Next question. What is the perfect classic cologne from the 1910s to the 1930s?
I think always the classical one is the Cologne. So 4711 or Farina or something else, they are classic
Yeah.
ones. Or the older ones, Acqua di Parma, Acqua di Genova, something else. So the historical Cologne, the real stuff in this period. Maybe
Nice.
there are some lavender scents from England also, but that's the one.
Another person asks, I get that some fragrances are seasonal, but I don't understand this idea of pairings based on textures, colors, moods, etc. How do I do that?
Yeah, coloring or texture, I don't know if you have to pair it, but mood, yes. If you have if you want to energize your day, you have to take a fragrance what energize you. If you have to calm you because you are completely crazy, and you have to take a fragrance what calm you. So lavender is a little bit a fragrance what calms you down. If you go out, you have to consider if you go to theater, maybe you wear a fragrance who are not boring the rest of the people with you in the audience. If you go in maybe in a club or something else, or in a more or go on a date, you use a different approach because you want to give more impression or something else. So the mood is, for me, is important in choosing a fragrance. The texture and color is not so important.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to me, sometimes it's also like, if I'm an outfit with like blue and a bottle is blue,
Yeah,
I'm more naturally drawn to it. But then I also smell like, oh, this is a great like day fragrance, or it's like, oh, it's spring, I'm like, ooh, I'm going with Giannini Bubbly because I'm like, that's great. Or like, there's certain like Matsoko or Atsuro, I'm like, these are great like summer fragrances for me, right? In the winter, I'm more like, give me those, it's just like, depending on what you like too. And there's no right or wrong, right? It's ultimately where you were there. The next question is it true that fragrances expire? And I think that's related to how you store them, right?
Yeah. There's no, there is a regulation. So when we speak about the technical thing, there's a regulation, which means there's on the bottle, there's a little symbol
Yeah.
with the box is open, and there's a number in the
Yeah.
there, and something is written 36 or
36M, for example, is here on the.
it means the fragrance has a technical expression after opening it, because there's an open box symbol. So if you open the fragrance or if you use it for the first time, then you have 3 years to use it. But there are people going crazy for vintage fragrances, and they are buying vintage fragrances for thousands of euro. They are 10, 15, 20, 30 years old. Sometimes they are only half bottles, so the half bottle is sprayed, and they pay thousands of euros because they want this vintage stuff. So at the end, it's not that the fragrance is going bad. A fragrance maybe can go bad if the color or something else, or the light or the temperature, give them the too much stress that the fragrance is completely stuck. But this can be happen also after 1 year if you store it in the wrong way. It doesn't mean that this is after that while. So if you store the fragrances in a good way and you use it in a normal way, and you don't put it in the car or something else on the beach or in the sun or outside, you can expect to use the fragrance or to have the fragrance okay for 5 or more years. That's no question. Technically, is the regulation says, okay, 36 months, but it's a question of the regulation.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, and it's a bit like, sometimes you have it's best by date in the US. It doesn't mean that it's a guaranteed best by that date. It doesn't mean that afterwards it's necessarily bad. It's just one thing for them to say that's what it is. Personally, I noticed that early on I was really interested in like my first like cologne that I bought, was the Polo Blue, because at the time it was marketed, and I like Polo Ralph Lauren, so I gravitated towards that. I also had Mont Blanc Individuel because I knew Mont Blanc, fountain pens, I collected them. And so I could tell that over the years, I found an old bottle, half bottle, and I spread it, and it was like, ooh, this is horrible, right? And then I bought a new bottle of the Individuel, and it smelled different. So they can expire, they can go bad, but it's good to hear that, it's maybe sometimes if you talk to people, they say 3 years, and then others, have it after 10 years and it's still fine. So it depends a bit. I would also guess that maybe if you have more stabilizers and stuff, will they break down faster than other clones?
It depends a little bit of the DNA of the fragrance. So if the fragrance is a fresh one, very citrusy, they are going break down earlier than a woody, dark, spicy fragrance. So the woody, spicy, dark fragrance, they last longer in time than the fresh one. The fresh one, there are some also other ingredients they tend to change. That is vanilla. If you have a lot of vanilla inside, the vanilla changes a lot over the time. You see it also in the color. If you have a vanilla fragrance, when you buy it, maybe there's a clear color or yellowish, and after it's getting more darker and brownish, then this is the vanilla. They
It just
oxidize.
oxidizes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you have any tips for making fragrance last longer?
Yeah, there are some tips, but I don't see them realistic. One of the best one is you put on the skin a neutral base, which is Vaseline. So if you put some Vaseline on the skin, the Vaseline
Yeah.
has no smell, so you can put it, but it's a greasy component, and you
Yeah.
spray over, the fragrance will be last very long.
Okay.
If you want to have a fragrance lasting long, you can spray it on the clothes. Of course, if you spray it on the clothes, they last 3 times or 4 times than on the skin. The problem spraying on the clothes, it means that you have it on the clothes. If you wear, if you want to wear the clothes in the second time, maybe is also the rest of the fragrance still there. On the skin, it's more easy because you wash, you go shower, you take. Of course, if you bring on your shirt, maybe your shirt go to the laundry and it's okay. But if you spray it on the jacket, not have it wearing, you bring the jacket on the dry cleaner. No? So that's very bad. But if I suggest, if you have to, if the fragrance is not lasting, spray more. Spray more, not in the first time, but spray often. Spray, refresh them.
Yeah. Basically,
If you don't
spray
want to
again.
do this with a greasy Vaseline or something else. A body lotion is not a good choice because a body lotion by itself has some smell, and depends if the smell of the body lotion is compatible with pairing with the smell of the fragrance. If you have the same body lotion of the fragrance, okay, that's good. You can use the body lotion as a base and use the same fragrance on it. That's okay. Also, you can use oils. The Middle East people, they use always oils. They put first the oil, mainly oud oils, but you can put every oil, and then they spray over. So oil is also a good base. If you want, you can put also an oil on the skin, or there are some body oils, and it's also a way to make fragrance more lasting.
Yeah. And then there's, of course, the fragrance itself, right? If you have a higher oil concentration in the bottle, it'll last longer too. Which, if you want to try, this is the new Patina cologne designed by Herbert. And if you want to test it out yourself, you can just get a sample, or you can buy the whole sampler set. Our special deal is you get the whole sample range, we'll send it to you, then you can all smell them, take your time. Then when you pick a bottle, you pick the bottle, we send it to you, and we'll also send you a free pocket square of your choice that you can just place with your initial order, all for $350. You get the free pocket square on top of that, and it is a deal. You can just add it, go to the shop and do it until the end of day, Sunday, Central Standard Time. So when you created Patina, tell us a little bit more. You were like, I wanted something that had an amber scent. Was that it?
Yeah, I want to have an amber scent. Amber scent is a certain category. It's not ambergris. Ambergris is a raw material. It's a different thing. But amber, it means like honey, spicy, woody, warm, accord. So it's a sensation amber. It comes from the I don't know how it calls in English, Bernstein. It's called Bernstein.
Amber. Yeah, Bernstein. Amber.
Yeah. But it suggests this warm yellowish. So there's a category like citrusy fragrance is a category, like a fougere is also a category, and so amber is also a category. And I want to create an amber with a fruity note. So, and as amber is a warm, very sweet, involving accord, I have to choose a fruity note what fits this kind of style. a citrusy. It doesn't work with amber because citrus is more fresh and more sparkling. And there are only two fruits for me that they are matching amber note. This one is plum. Plum is also a darker fruit, and mango, because mango at the end is very sweet. There's no acidity. It's a very sweet accord. So I put in this case some amber notes. We will feel it in the start. Mango notes. We will feel it in the start. And there's a good combination between the honey and the mango and this amber note. So that's was the idea. To know, not only to create a amber fragrance, but the amber fragrance with a twist. In this case, a mango twist.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, well said. Thank you so much for your time, Herbert. I appreciate you, and I hope I learned something. I hope you did too. So I hope I can have you again. Maybe next time I'll come to you and visit you in Germany, and we can film something there and walk through your big collection of things. That would be a lot of fun. So thank you. Warm regards to Germany, and see you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Gut. Okay, wunderbar. Vielen Dank, Herr Stricker.